Tonight's sutta is quite a straightforward sutta. It's one of those rare occasions when we have a chance to have a look into the Buddha's own life, his own attitude towards himself even. And here we have one of those occasions. He has a different personal attendant by the name of Nagita. He's one of those earlier attendants. Now, Nagita is a very not so notable person. According to my research, he was a fat monk, not very hardworking, a bit lazy sometimes, and he loves food. He has a nephew, Kosala, who is much more serious in his practice and probably has attained some levels. And here we see the Buddha and quite a big group of monks, about 400 monks, in a forest. And when the brahmins nearby, Brahmin family nearby heard the Buddha was present, they were very excited. They were gathered together at the forest entrance to towards the place where the Buddha was resting, and they wanted to make offerings to Buddha. So this is the background. Now, so we learn a few things about this kind of situation. People don't just go in to see the Buddha. They wait at the right time. They seek permission to meet him, even in the forest. So that's already this kind of a tradition, if you like. And meditators, recluses are respected, especially when they visit near the dwellings of these people, these villages. You have to imagine this is 2,500 years ago. There's a lot of forests, a lot of empty spaces, very unlike Singapore, much more like rural Australia, if you like. Of course, rural India today, right? So here we are, the Pancaka Nāgita Sutta. Pancaka means here there are five things the Buddha is going to teach. So it is in the Pancaka Nipata of the Anguttara Nikaya, especially helpful for lay people. And Nagita is the name of the Buddha's attendant to whom this teaching is addressed. And through Nagita, this teaching has come down to us. So Pancaka Nāgita Sutta means the 5 discourse to Nagita. Anguttara 5.30. The theme is the 5 meditations on revulsion. So this is quite a deep meditation, but still the Buddha teaches it to us, lay people. Now, just a note on the word transmission, Dhamma transmission. We have to be careful not to ritualize Buddhism. You find today, like in Zen Buddhism, oddly, there's a lot of ritualized behavior, even the way of walking, Dhamma transmission, and so on. And this is happening to modern Theravada also, especially in the teaching of the so-called transmission or transference of merit. There's no such thing as transference of merit, because merit, good karma, cannot be transferred. This is a very serious wrong view. If we understand the nature of karma, nature of kusala karma, these are generated within us. So when we speak of the Dhamma being transmitted to us, nothing is really transmitted to us personally. What the Buddha has done is to preserve the teachings in the form of suttas so that they are recited and handed down generation after generation. And people are able to hear these teachings. And later in Sri Lanka, around just before Asoka's time, the suttas were written down. And so when we hear these suttas and then we practice it, we understand it. To that extent, we have the sutta within us. So we do not really kind of receive the teaching, rather we understand the teaching. And when we understand the teaching, in that sense, we have realized, to that extent, we've realized the truth. So this is the idea. It's nothing about transmission. It's about realization. So this is very important to understand. Otherwise, we will ritualize the teaching, and there is wrong view, and you will never be able to attain even the first stage of the path, right? So we practice the teaching so that we realize it. That's how we receive the teaching. So this happens to all the Buddhas and all the other Arahats too. All right, so let us look at the sutta now. Let's go down to the translation. Right, here we are. Pancaka Nāgita Sutta, the 5th discourse to Nagita A 5.30. Thus have I heard, at one time the Blessed One was wandering in Kosala. Kosala country is in the north of India. Sanskrit is called Kosala. So he's wandering in Kosala together with a large company of monks, probably about 500 monks. He reached a brahmin village of the Kosalas. Okay, here the word Kosalas refer to the people. Okay, so Kosala is the name of the country as well as the name of the people. And the name of this village is Icchā naṅgala. Naṅgala means plow. Okay, so you can guess this is an agricultural village. And there are Brahmins here. So these Brahmins, they are kind of agriculturalists, farmers and pastoralists, they take care of cows and so on, right? The Buddha didn't stay in the village. There, the Blessed One stayed in a thick wood outside Naṅgala. So the reason the Buddha and the monks live in the forest is to have some peace and able to meditate, hear the Dhamma, and then in the morning walk into the village to collect alms. So this is the background. Now the Brahmin housemasters, so this word housemaster refers to these Brahmins who have land and property, a house. So this is a Brahmin village, in other words. They're all Brahmins live together. So in those days, they have this caste system. And these Brahmin housemasters of Icchā naṅgala heard, it is said that the recluse Gotama, the Sakya's son, went forth from a Sakya family, has arrived at Icchā naṅgala, and is now dwelling in the thick wood outside Icchā naṅgala. Now, you probably have seen this kind of statement many times in the sutta. So here it gives us an idea that we're talking about ancient India being very forested, not rural like Singapore. So you have this little village, few hundred people there, maybe a 1,000 or so. And so when someone like the Buddha comes along, it's a special occasion, because most of these gurus or these teachers, they're not likely to come to the small villages. You won't get much food, you won't get much donation. Whereas in the case of the Buddha, he goes wandering around, teaching as he goes. So these Brahmins are very happy to have such a teacher and the monks visiting them. And of course, they have heard of the Buddha before. So this passage shows that they've heard about the Buddha. The Buddha was a Sakya son, meaning he comes from this noble Sakya, the Kshatriya Sakya family, and has left home. So they're very excited that the Buddha is nearby. And they also know that the Buddha is awakened. So this is what passage 4 tells us. Concerning this Blessed One, this fair report, this good report has been spread about us. So too is he the Blessed One, for he is Arhat, fully self-awakened, accomplished in knowledge and conduct, well gone, knower of the worlds, an excelled trainer of tameable people, or simply those who are tameable. Okay, and not necessarily just people, but it can be also even yakshas and devas. Teacher of beings, human and divine, awakened, blessed. So these are the 9 qualities of the Buddha. Nava Raha Guna. Nava Araha Guna. The 9 worthy virtues of the Buddha. And so this part, up to this point, up to 4.1, shows the Buddha as this awakened being. 4.2 shows him as the teacher. Having realized by his own direct knowledge, this world with its gods, its maras, and its brahmas, this generation with its recluses and brahmins, its rulers and people, he makes it known to others. Now, why is this so special? Why is this mentioned? Why does the sutta even mention? He makes it known to others. The reason is simple. The Brahmins do not do that. The Brahmins do not make known their teachings to others. Rather, they recite the verses and they might just give a little bit of teaching, and only they can recite those teachings, and it is their teaching. So the Brahmins recite, and you have to pay 2 donations for that recitation, and they claim to be the ones who open up the path to heaven for you. So this is the meaning here. Whereas in the case of the Buddha, he makes the truth, the path, known to others so that anyone who listens can practice it. Not everyone can practice Brahmanism, the teachings of the Brahmins. Only the Brahmins can do it. So you have this very limited idea of religion with the Brahmins. So you can imagine with the Buddha coming around and saying, okay, here's this teaching. You can rely on yourself. You don't have to rely on the Brahmins. You don't have to rely on any other agency, any God idea, any rituals. You do it yourself by closing your eyes, by being mindful, by practicing the precepts. So the Buddha is special in that sense. And this is what this introduction means, okay? All right. Now, so these Brahmins are very excited. They came to visit the Buddha. So now in section 5, let's go down. Go down, yes. Then when the night had passed, the Brahmin housemasters of Icchā naṅgala took abundant food of various kinds and went to the thick wood outside Icchā naṅgala. Okay, so now notice the time is given here, when the night had passed. So here we have to understand the way the ancient Indians measured time. So the day is divided into 2 parts, the forenoon and the afternoon. Forenoon is from sunrise to noon. They have no clocks like the way we have today. They have no sundials. I'm not sure if they have sundials, no, probably not. And afternoon is literally after noon down to sunset. Now from sunset, about 4 hours. Let's say sunset 6 o'clock, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That will be the first watch. Pratama first watch. Then 10, around 10, 11, 12, 1, 2 is the second, is the middle watch. Okay, middle watch. That's the middle of the night. And then 2 to 6 is the third watch or last watch. So when the night is over, it could be just any time between 2 to 6. So it can be quite early, maybe 4 o'clock, and the people those days get up early. They definitely get up with the sun. So they're already there. In a sense, you might say around just before dawn, okay? And dawn is a very beautiful moment of the day. In Pali, you have a special word for something like the smiling face of dawn, something like that. And as I said many times before, we're very lucky to have our house, the window, the main window facing the east. And one of the things I love doing is to sleep in the sitting room. And when I get up in the morning, if I get up late, that is, I can see the sunrise, the bluish light of dawn just rising behind the rooftops, behind the, what do you call it, this outline of the roofs. And you see this beautiful light brightening up. And it's a time when you feel connected with the Buddha. You just want to recite the Namo Tassa, just 5 precepts. And that moment is beautiful. So I always remember the suttas mentioning the smiling face of dawn. So that you have to see for yourself. It's really beautiful. And I think if you live in the countryside, you probably see even a more beautiful view of that smiling face of dawn. Right, so people get up early and they get up before the sun. And they're very excited because this Buddha, the living sun, so to speak, has arrived in near their village. So, of course, being lay people, and they're very excited. They stood outside the entrance, making a great noise, a din. Okay. Now again, here it's very interesting. There's entrance. What entrance is this? This is the entrance to the forest. But forests, as you know, have no entrance, but probably this refers to a path by which you can take to go inside. And then you have this space in the forest that is suitable for people to stay, especially for 500 monks to stay. Of course, these monks, they have their, what do you call that, extra robes, mats, so they sit on the floor. They'll select their trees and so on and meditate under the trees all over the forest, about 500 of them. So, of course, this is not the equatorial forest, the kind that you see in Malaysia and Singapore. That kind of place can be difficult to sit. Lots of mosquitoes also. And of course, you're living in India, you have a better idea. You're living in northern India, you know this kind of forests. They're more like those Robin Hood forests, like Nottingham Forest, where you have very often the trees are very similar, and there are lots of spaces, and it's well shaded. In fact, it can be quite cold even in the morning because the sun doesn't go through the layer of foliage, and so this forest is very cool in the morning. But of course, as the day progresses, the sun rises, it becomes a bit warmer. So this is the kind of place the monks were staying, and these numerous Brahmins were waiting at the entrance of the forest. If you like, you can see somewhere between the village and the deep forest. And they were talking and murmuring, and the children laughing and so on. So you can imagine the situation. Okay, so this is the very simple background, very mundane background. All right, so now you have to, we go, it is like a movie, so you can imagine now the camera moving into the place where the Buddha and the monks were staying. Section 6. So this is like scene 6, okay? Act 1, scene 6. Now, at that time, the Venerable Nagita was the Blessed One's attendant. So we are told who's taking care. The Buddha is mentioned because he's going to be the interlocutor, and he's going to have a dialogue with the Buddha. In fact, the sutta only mentions 2 people, Nagita talking with the Buddha. The sutta doesn't tell us much about Nagita, but the commentaries mention, as I said, he is this fat monk, and you'll find out why we know he's a fat monk in a moment. So the Blessed One then addressed the Venerable Nagita. What's that great noise, Nagita, that din? It sounds to me like fishermen plundering fish. Okay, this phrase, like fishermen plundering fish, has been highlighted because this is quite a well-known phrase. Whenever something noisy and the Buddha kind of wondering, what's this noise? This is not characteristic of a monastery, right? Then Nagita, of course, he being the Kara, being the Buddha's attendant, he knows. He tells Bhante, it is the Brahmin housemasters of Icchā naṅgala who have brought abundant food of various kinds. They are standing outside the entrance, expecting to make the food offering to the Blessed One and the community of monks. All right, so there you are. But the sutta doesn't tell us how Nagita feels. If you read the commentary carefully, he's probably a little excited. Got a lot of nice food coming. Remember, he's fat. He's fat and a little lazy. And he's very happy. There's so many Brahmins coming with lots of food. And you can imagine, Indian food can be very nice, with all the spices and so on. All right, so what did the Buddha say? Now we come to verse 8. And this is the key statement the Buddha makes in the whole sutta. I mean, other than the Dhamma teaching, this is the key sutta, the key statement in the sutta. The Buddha proclaims, may I never meet with fame, Nagita, nor fame ever meet with me. Yeah, it's quite interesting. May fame never comes to, may I never be famous, and may fame never come to me. So here, who is he addressing? Well, he's addressing not only Nagita, but he's telling the monks of the future, be careful, you're going to be famous, and because of that, you'll be distracted. You have no time to meditate. You'll be so busy giving talk and going for conferences. So you're not going to have time for meditation. You'll be socializing, and there goes your monkhood. May I never meet with fame. May fame never meet with me. So instead of fame, you can put the word worldliness, if you like. Now the Buddha will mention 3 words a little later for the word fame. And we'll come to it in just a moment. Nagita, let one who does not attain at will without trouble or difficulty this joy of renunciation, this joy of solitude, this joy of stillness, this joy of self-awakening, this joy of renunciation, this joy of solitude, this joy of stillness, this joy of self-awakening that I can attain at will without trouble or difficulty. Let him enjoy for himself that dung of pleasure, that sloth of pleasure, those pleasures of gain, honor, and praise. Okay, by now I'm sure you can guess what are the three words that can replace fame, right? It's the very last three words of this passage. Gain, honor, and praise. There is a special chapter in the Samyutta titled just gain, honor, and praise. The Buddha says, monks, you have to be very careful of these three things: gain, honor, and praise. Avoid them like the plague. They're very dangerous. Just do not have anything to do with gain, honor, and praise. This will distract your practice. Right? Now, why is the Buddha making such a big fuss here? The Buddha is addressing Nagita. Right? So when we read the commentary, we begin to understand why the Buddha is speaking such a serious, heavy tone. He's teaching Nagita, don't be so worldly. You know, we won't help you. All right? Now, what does Nagita do? He's not very, what shall we say, not that obedient. You find these early attendants have a lot of difficulties. Yeah? So let's go further down and see what happens before we take our break. Okay, so verse 9, he actually, you know, kind of go against what the Buddha says. He says, let the Blessed One now consent, Bhante. Let the welcome one, Sugata, welcome one, consent. This is now the time for the Blessed One to consent. Now here again, you have to imagine, you know, this situation and the tone that Nagita is making. How does he say these words? Now remember, this is early in the morning and food is waiting. This is the time when the monks are going for alms round, which means they're very hungry also. So you can imagine Nagita being very hungry and he's studying the Buddha. Okay, enough with all this teaching. Now we have to welcome these brahmins, and so many of them, you know. So now's the time to consent. Let them come in. You know? All right, so then he gives this very clever excuse why the Buddha should, you know, allow the brahmins to come in. He says, wherever the Blessed One will go now, the Brahmin housemasters of town and countryside will incline in the same direction. So wherever you go, they will come and look for you. All right? And he's becoming a bit lyrical, a bit poetic. Verse 10, he uses a metaphor. So just as when heavy raindrops are falling, the water flows down along the slopes. Even so, wherever the Blessed One will go now, the Brahmin housemasters of town and country will incline in that same direction. What is the reason for this? Because of the Blessed One's moral virtue and wisdom. All right. So here again, we may think, wow, this is really good, very wise words. Well, we're not wrong, actually. But at the same time, why are they said? You have to think, why are these words said? By a very hungry, fat monk, right? So he's kind of, you know, becoming very, suddenly very Dhamma-minded. He uses this metaphor, which is used to describe merits. When we do good, this merits grow like heavy rain in the mountains and it come down flowing, flooding the rivers. All right. So imagine he's also very hungry and says, "Oh, please, why don't we just let the Brahmins come? So let them make their offerings." Okay. All right. So now let me see. I think I'll just read one paragraph and then go on to the teaching. Okay? Now the Buddha repeats what he has said, but he knows this Nagita is a bit stubborn in a way, in manner of speaking. Remember, he is only the Buddha's attendant for a short while before Ananda's time. Verse 11, again the Buddha declared, may I never meet with fame, Nagita, nor fame ever meet with me. So it's reminding Nagita, right? And reminding us also. Nagita, let one who attains not at will any trouble, without trouble or difficulty, this joy of renunciation, this joy of solitude, this joy of stillness, this joy of self-awakening. So the Buddha is saying, if let these people who are not able to meditate, let them enjoy all these things. This dung of pleasure, that sloth of pleasure, that those pleasure of gain, honor, and praise. So who is the Buddha addressing here? Clearly, this is Nagita. He's teaching Nagita. So Nagita, you better meditate. You should be focusing on your meditation. All right. Here we have a very interesting situation, not often dared to be spoken by polite monks. This is called scatology. Scatology. I've used a new simple word, scatic. So here is a scatic teaching, if you like. In 11.4, there is the word dung, dung of pleasure. The Buddha said this, all this food and pleasure, these worldly things are like dung. That's what happens to them. We take in all this food and they rot. So you find this is one of the situations when the Buddha makes use of scatological or simple word scatic language. The interesting news here is I've just finished one essay, a long essay, quite a long essay in volume 63, I think. And at first I was quite reluctant to write about this early Buddhist scatology. I managed to finish it and I'm quite happy with it. So I leave it to you to read it and see what you make of it, where the Buddha uses this, very simply put, dung language, okay, dung of pleasure. That's the way the world is. We should push it, keep it at a distance, right? The Buddha says, I will not touch this body even with a dung stick, and so on. So you have this kind of language used by the Buddha. All right, I'm going to stop here for a while. Now we've gone to the 5 teachings and the 5 insights through revulsion. Let me just say a few words about the word revulsion. This Pali word is nibbida. Now there is this another version of the sutta, by the way, in the collection of the sixes, where this passage seems to be missing. Yeah? But anyway, we look at the sutta as it is here. All right, so this teaching is given to Nagita, right? So it's not mentioned whether the Brahmins after that come in to offer or not, because it's not important. And of course, if we understand the way the Sangha works, naturally, the Brahmins will come in and then make the offerings after this teaching. So it is understood and it's not mentioned. All right. So now the Buddha gives the 5 teachings, the 5 insights to revulsion, meaning basically here, letting go through understanding the unsatisfactory nature of things that we use, that we see, that we experience. This is a very deep teaching. It's opposite of worldly attachment. So this is usually taught to the monks, but for lay people, there are many wise lay people. This kind of teaching can be very helpful to strengthen us. So I have numbered in round brackets the 5 teachings. So section 12 is the first teaching, Nagita. Now notice here in various places, the Buddha often will use the vocative, he will announce the name of the person or the group that he's teaching. For example, monks, right? So again, this name will be mentioned. Now, sadly, Bodhi's translation, he often omits this vocative, this name. So you probably, if you're lucky, you just mention once, and then after that, in the other passages, Nagita will not be mentioned. So the word bhikshus, monks, also will not be mentioned. Oddly, to save space, to make the publishers, the printers happy. Yeah? Anyway, so here, one happy thing we have with the Sutta Discovery series is you have all the space in samsara to use, to lay out the Dhamma in a complete way for us to enjoy it in its full beauty. Section 12, this is the first teaching. Nagita, what is eaten, drunk, chewed, tasted, ends up as dung and urine. This is the outcome. All right, this is the simplest, the shortest teaching on the moderation in food. So this is one way to cut down eating, right? To reflect in this way. What we eat, drink, chew, or taste all end up as dung and urine. So this is the beginning of the 5 teachings. This is the most, this is material food. So the situation is going to get more complicated, more become deeper as we go around, as we go through the 5. So first is reflection on food. Then 13, which is number 2, second teaching, Nagita. From the change and becoming other of things that are dear arise sorrow, lamentation, physical pain, mental pain, despair. This is the outcome. All right, so this brackets 2 here refers to kind of psychological, emotional change. Dukkha in the form of things changing. They're never totally satisfying us. What we hold dear will change, will go away. All right, so this is the second reflection. So whole nothing there, basically. Well, whole nothing there doesn't mean we should not hate, we should not like anything. We just don't care about people. There are people who are dear to us. We care about them. Here we're talking about food, things that we like. They break up, they rot. So you have to understand that. That's the meaning. Okay? When it comes to people, we learn to care more for them, take care of them, love them. So that is something different. Okay, third teaching, number 14. Nagita, for one devoted to practicing meditation on the sign of the foul, revulsion towards the sign of the beautiful is established. This is its outcome. Now, it's a very odd teaching. You don't often see this, you know, because here the sign of the beautiful is a very important state in meditation. For example, when you do loving kindness meditation, you get into this jhana. So that's called the beautiful. Here, the meaning is we should not get stuck to any stage. Let's say you attain the first jhana and you get a sign of the beautiful when jhana arises. And if you're stuck to that beautiful state, then you remain there, you don't grow. So you have to let go of that. Once you have attained that wonderful state, that beautiful state oddly becomes a hindrance to the next stage. If you don't overcome that, you remain in that stage. So you have to overcome that, and then you go by letting go of the factors of the first dhyana, then you go into the second dhyana, right? And then finally, you let go of even the remains of consciousness. You attain nirvana. That's when there's nothing left. So you can imagine how deep this teaching is. No? It means letting go, or even the best attainment in this world. Number 4, Nagita. For one who dwells contemplating impermanence in the 6 contact bases, revulsion towards contact is established. This is the outcome. This is the benefit. All right, now the Buddha is talking about watching the 6 sense experiences. Seeing, hearing, tasting, seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, and thinking. 6. No? Any of this, when you watch, when you observe it, you reflect on the impermanence of any of these states, or any of these experiences, revulsion arises, meaning you begin to see the impermanent, there's nothing there to hold on to, and you just let it go. You say, that's it, it's not even there. You let it go, and you feel happy with it. So that is practice number 4. Now we come to practice number 5. This is the last one. Nagita. For one who dwells contemplating arising and ending in the 5 aggregates of clinging, revulsion towards clinging is established. This is its outcome. Okay, this is watching. See, this is going even deeper still. The aggregates themselves. Form, feeling, perception, formations, consciousness. Let's take consciousness or feelings or consciousness. So all you notice is the arising, joy ending. Consciousness of something arising, and then it ends. So you don't cling to it anymore, because you know it arises and it goes away. You can't hold on to it. So this is the teaching that the Buddha has given to Nagita. That because we're not told how he responds to this, but it's a very profound teachings. To have received such teachings, the Buddha obviously is a sign that this person will improve, will do better in the practice. So the sutta ends here. And we have about 15 minutes for question and answer.
Thank you, Piya, for the teaching. Now we have a Q&A. Sister Isim will help us. Thank you, Sister Isim.
Yes, Sister Rana. Thank you, Brother Piya, for the teaching. Okay, the first question from Brother Mayank. Some people say that Buddha didn't or may not have existed historically, but the suttas and Pali Canon were compiled gradually over time by perhaps different group of people. Could this be true?
I don't think any sensible scholar would hold that view nowadays. It will show that they have not studied well enough, because with all the research and the internal coherence of the teachings, it's obvious this is a teaching of one person. Okay, that is the simple answer. Okay, and then another possible answer is it's up to people. If you think the Buddha doesn't exist, fine. The Buddha doesn't exist to you. But still, if you look at the teaching as it is, with or without the Buddha, the teaching makes very good sense. I was writing about this, just a while ago, on the self-reliance. So self-reliance means the Buddha has given us this so many hints and teachings, and the Buddha says, I am the one who points the way, akataro. And you have to practice by yourself. You practice by yourself. So there you are. in a sense, you don't need the Buddha. I say in a sense because I'm being very careful here. There are the three jewels, because without the Buddha, you have no Dharma. Without the Dharma, there's no Sangha, right? So when we say there is the Buddha, we're saying that it is possible for a human being to awaken to true reality. And this human being teaches others this path, and it is still available today. Okay, so that the teaching, as we say in the English proverb, the test of the pudding is in the eating. So you take the pudding and you find it works. That's good enough for me anyway. Okay. All right, next question.
Sorry, just now my line cut off.
Oh, it's okay.
I think the message disappeared. Brother Mayan, can you please read your question? Because I cannot see anymore.
Oh,
Apologies.
Posted too many questions. Let me read them. So, Brother Piya, my second question that I wrote was, okay, so this is regarding Venerable Nagita, that could a monk still be fat? Can you hear me?
Yes, yes. Possible.
Okay,
Yeah.
I was asking.
Can hear you, yes.
Could a monk still be fat with 1 meal a day rule, and might he be breaking that rule, or could there be some other reason for his being fat?
Oh, okay. There are some people, I think, who just, even if they eat a little bit, they put on weight because they don't exercise, things like that. And people who, like, I was very skinny when I was young. In my teenage, I was really skinny. And but now I'm putting on weight in old age. So it happens. And also, these monks could be eating quite a lot, although they take one meal. They may be eating a lot. All right. For example, there's in the story of King Pasinadi Kosala, he took rice by the buckets. So I can't imagine how it happens, but they actually eat by the buckets. The Romans also do that. I read about it, but the Romans have a rather nasty habit. They will eat something, and then after that they will tickle their throat, and then they will regurgitate this. They will vomit out this food so that they can eat some more. It's a terrible way of behavior. So in the case of Nagita, he probably took a lot of food. And then again, there's another, if you are lenient with the rule about food, the rule is that you can take food anytime when the sun has risen, and as you put your palm out in the open, you can see the lines on your palm until just before midday. So you can take 2 meals, technically speaking. So today, most city monks, they will take breakfast and lunch. Okay. So sometimes in between they can have biscuits. Now I know when I go to retreat centers, I find the monks being served biscuits and drinks. Okay. Right. So it's easy to get fat as a monk anyway nowadays. So that's why the Buddha reminds monks to guard themselves in terms of food. Okay. So I don't know whether he broke the rules or not. Then I can't answer.
These 1 meal a day kind of a practice they are like, I think some people are trying to follow it, even who are not monks, right?
Regarding, sorry?
One meal a day or
well, if you are doing meditation and you are leading a quiet life, I think 1 meal a day might be helpful, might work. But if you are being physical, you have to do a lot of physical work, you may feel the effect of it. It doesn't give you enough energy, you get tired, so that might not be good for health. So you got to understand the life of the monk. Then again, these monks, they're used to it. I mean, they kind of walk every day, go for alms and so on, and they just take 1 meal, and sometimes they walk for kilometers. That's another thing. So it is their by habit. They've been doing this. As you know, in exercise, you got to do it regularly, and your body gets used to it. So you got to adjust yourself and see how your body takes it. Don't straight away start with one meal if you are used to normal meals. Cut down the number of meals stage by stage, and then see how well you can take it. Yeah, and then come down to one meal a day. And of course, if you take one meal a day, it's best to follow the style of the Buddha. That's to take well before noon. Say between, say 11. Say starting around 11. I mean, if you, of course, assuming you finish in less than an hour, yeah. So about 10:30, 11 might be a good time to start eating. So health also is the highest gain, says the Buddha. Health is important too. So balance, yeah. Okay, any other question?
Shall I ask the next question, Sister Exim?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Lord Piya. Would the teaching on gain, honor, and praise, or in short, worldliness, apply to slave people as well as is?
The warning was only given to monks. So technically we can say it's not applied, it doesn't apply to lay people, technically, yeah. But then if you look Dhamma-wise, it applies to everyone, because if you are caught up with gains, then if you become greedy, that's not helpful, right? On the other hand, if lay people have a lot of gains, then they are in a very good position to help others. You become wealthy, and you can help others who do not have that opportunity like you have. So that can be good for lay people, right? So that's all right. And same thing with fame. So the person becomes famous, they can help others, right? So the idea is not to be bothered with praise, because when someone praises you, they also might blame you. So that one you have to be very careful. Now, on the other hand, the Buddha also says that those people who behave well, who do good things, the wise will praise them and not blame them. So that is something positive. Okay.
So when I was
yes.
sorry, you go on.
No, it's okay. Continue. Yeah.
You go on, Brother Piya. I'll ask later. Sorry, I interrupted.
No. Anyway, it's okay. It's nothing important.
Okay, I was saying then when I was reading this sutta, I again came up on this term Atmayata. Atmayata.
Okay, you mean the Pali Suttas?
Yeah, this sutta, Nāgita Sutta.
Atma.
Atmayata.
Oh yes,
Atmayata.
Atamayata. Yes, pronunciation very tricky here. Yes,
Yes.
Atamayata. You see, in the Upanishads, I think that there is a saying, that is it, something like that is it. Okay, so here I think that remark that is it is purposely, possibly, is to counter the Buddha's remark that is not it. The Buddha says that is not it. Tam. Atanti. Not it. Tang is that. Okay. Atang or natang. That's not it. All right. In other words, there's nothing out there. Don't hold on to it. One of the things that people get caught up, especially scholars, people who are non-Buddhist, they have Christian background, then they come to Buddhism, suddenly they're terrified with this teaching of nothingness, so they look for something, kinchana. So the Buddha wants, be careful, don't get caught up with this something, this kinchana. We make things out of nothing. Atamayata means not identifying with anything, especially with any of the 6 senses, the 5 physical senses and the mind. That is not me. I'm letting it go. So that's meaning of Atamayata. There is I've written a whole article on this, because this Buddhadasa from South Thailand was talking a lot about Atamayata in his time. And I don't know whether you have read the article on Atamayata or not. Do you know about this article? Let me check what reference is it. Atamayata. I have the Sutta index, very convenient. Yeah, if you need a Sutta index, just let us know. We're working on it, and Mayang is working on a name index.
Yes.
The subject in title index is being worked with by Chai Seng. Then I am referring to the subject index, which is the most difficult to prepare actually. Okay, Atamayata is 19.13. ST 19.13. So if you want the latest one, just let us know. Yeah, someone is yes.
So, Brother Piya, so what you just said about wealth and fame, especially like for lay people. So when I mean, just connecting this teaching with Atmaita, is it like that in spirit, not just technically, but in spirit, Buddha is addressing it to us lay people as well? Because I feel that mentally, when you have a mind of a renunciant, it greatly helps in being peaceful, right? But at the same time, these things are coming to you, just naturally. You are not going for them, you're not working for these things. But
Yeah.
if they come, then you can make good use of them. And if they don't,
Yeah.
they don't. That's all. Something like this.
Yeah, in spirit, of course, you go as far as you can. Some lay people are able to, connect better than others. Yeah. So that's definitely possible. Okay. So we go as far as you understand. And you find there are some lay people who attain very deep states, who go as far as non-returning even. They become non-returners. And yet they remain lay people. So they live very simple lives without using any money. So there are not many non-returners lay people, but they do exist in the suttas. And some of them are quite famous. Yeah?
Even as laymen, not using money.
Even as laymen, non-returning laymen. Okay. I think there are two Ugga. I think Ugga, the two Uggas, UGGA, I think they're non-returners. Offhand, I can't remember the exact names, but in my index, they're listed. Okay, and any other question?
I had two more, Brother Piya.
Okay, let's finish it off because this is our last class before Chinese New Year. There will be no class next week for Chinese New Year, by the way. Okay, go on.
So one was that, so the Magandiya episode, right? When Magandiya's father is trying to give her hand in marriage to the Buddha and they meet the road, right? There also Buddha uses, I think, this kind of language to describe Magandiya.
Yes, that's right. Yes.
Yeah. So
I was going to
just
mention,
ask
I was going to
reason.
mention Magandiya also, but it slipped my mind. The Buddha says, I will not touch this body even with a dipstick. That's the word he used, and we translate to English as that. So, and of course, Magandiya got very annoyed, and he got, in this case, it's a woman's annoyance, and she bore a grudge in mind. She couldn't get it back on the Buddha. So later, when she found out that Samawati was the Buddha's devotee, she took revenge on Samawati. She got some criminals to surround Samawati's quarters with her 500 handmaiden, and they burned the building down, and she died with all of them.
Yes.
Yeah, and the king was very angry, of course, because Samawati was the most beloved. But he's very cunning. He says, "Oh, finally somebody has got rid of this woman for me. I wonder who is this kind woman, And this Magani was foolish enough to admit, "Oh, I'm the one who did it," because she got punished. Now, I dare not tell you how she was punished. It's really gruesome.
I've read that, Brother Piya, but I was thinking, what was the Buddha's reason?
So that's fine, but you can read up for yourself. I'm not going to tell you because it's very gruesome. Okay,
I read the story, Brother Piya, but what I was thinking is what could be Buddha's reason for speaking in those words or that tone to Magandiya?
But remember, the Buddha is talking in spiritual terms as a meditator, without hatred. But of course, some critics may say, "Oh, he could have been more refined in his language," things like that. But the Buddha was quite clear with his attitude towards the body. So for us, in a sense, the Buddha was talking to us today. So we look at it, we understand what he means. So we don't bear any grudge.
And he could have seen what is going to happen in the future with what
Yeah,
Magandia.
yes, that is quite a troubling question for people who think that the Buddha has this power to look ahead, which I don't doubt, by the way. It's just that maybe at the moment he didn't see ahead of this. And like I said, since I don't have that ability, I have no problem with this teaching, you see. So people who claim that the Buddha would have this power and why did he say this thing? He could have stopped it, and therefore he's not compassionate. I mean, that kind of argument would be too...
I'm not holding that view, but I'm just curious.
Yeah,
why.
I know.
He must have had good reasons, but...
Yeah. No, I'm saying that he's saying the teaching, that is his natural reaction as a meditator. And anyone who follows the sutta very carefully and those who do serious meditation definitely understand what he's trying to say. He's talking about, what's the word, this letting go of the body, basically, the revulsion towards the body. Okay? All right, we have gone 5 minutes over time, so...
Last question, if
okay,
I may.
quick one, all right.
Yeah, quick one. So when we reflect on impermanence of the senses, what is it that does the reflecting? Is it still sensory consciousness?
Whatever experience you notice, what I've seen is gone now. It's no more there, right? So you reflect on that it is gone. And this is very healing also. Then you won't be troubled by it, I feel angry, it is gone. Or I feel sad, it is gone. Right? So it's no more there now. So you feel good about it, you feel happy. So that's a simple benefit you get from it. Happiness here and now.
But what is doing that reflecting, Vidya?
Sorry?
What does that reflecting? Is it still sensory consciousness that reflects on the impermanence of the same sensory consciousness?
Well, it's the mind watching itself. We answer the question, we say it's the mind watching itself. All right, so when the mind looks at itself, there is what's called reflexive consciousness. And this is the way we learn. Ever since there is human evolution, we're able to see things and then reflect it on ourselves. So it's the mind looking at itself. This is called reflexive consciousness. Okay?
Okay. Some Thai monks say, Thai monks, forest tradition monks, they say that a sankhara cannot be looking at a sankhara. So it's like vijnanam, vasanam, kind like nirvana.
Yeah, those are very specific terms. Whereas I use the word mind. See, because mind, as you know, has got feeling, perception, formation, consciousness. These 4 things working all together, not just sankhara. Sankhara is the intention, see? Intention before an act. So they're talking in technical terms. So the one is something else. Okay, well, I have to really end this session now. Just to announce, there'll be no class next week because of Chinese New Year. No, not many people are likely to come anyway. So we'll take a break. We'll be too busy also, meeting people. All right, so this once again, let us close with recalling this wonderful act we have done today. This act of renunciation, of meeting together, studying the suttas, keeping the precepts, doing some meditation and so on. So let us wish ourselves well and happy so that we can continue to practice the Dharma and send out the same thoughts to our loved ones, to people we care about, people in our lives, that they too may be well and happy, especially those who are important to us. And also, let us show our gratitude to the 3 jewels by saluting them. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Buddhang Bhagavantang Abhivadim Swakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami Supatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Sanghang Namami Sadhu Sadhu Sadhu